Welcome everyone. Welcome everyone. Welcome everyone to another Ref Brandon and the Todd Family YouTube video. Wherever you are, whatever you may be doing, thank you so much for making Ref Brandon and the Todd Family a part of your day. We always greatly appreciate it. Before I get into today's video, let me quickly go ahead and send a shout out to my man Robert, who has subscribed to the channel up in Kansas. He said he was a big wrestling fan, and I told him we talk wrestling a lot here on the channel. As a matter of fact, yesterday's video was a quick review of AEW's All Out, which took place this past Sunday night. So Robert, thanks for subscribing, and I'm sure if you like wrestling, there will be a lot of content on this channel that you will certainly enjoy, and feel free to comment at any time. And don't forget, when we get to 1,000 subscribers, we are having a major giveaway. So anybody that has subscribed that comments has a chance to win, and the more you comment, the better chance you have of winning. We had a giveaway at 100, a giveaway at 500, and we'll have another giveaway whenever we get to 1,000. And speaking of wrestling, this upcoming Saturday night, that's right, tomorrow night, for those of you who are in Northeast Georgia, North Georgia, and the upstate of South Carolina, I expect to see you at 244 Livestock Road, East Denali, Georgia, for some great SWA wrestling action. They've already announced that Junior and Osriel will be facing off in a hardcore match, and all wrestling fans like hardcore matches. I've never met a wrestling fan that did not like hardcore matches, so that match, along with several others, will be coming up tomorrow night at 244 Livestock Road, East Denali, Georgia. Now, before I get into the college football talk, I mentioned a couple of weeks ago that I may not be able to have a lot of NASCAR videos and a lot of Braves videos because of the fact football was starting. But I will mention that Denny Hamlin had not won a race all year long, but then when the playoffs started this past Sunday, he won the first race in the chase for the championship. So he automatically qualifies to go to the next round, and NASCAR is back on track tomorrow night at Richmond in race number 2, which of course, if you follow NASCAR, you know they have 3 races before 4 drivers are eliminated. And my man Kyle Busch went out very early this past Sunday, so unless he wins tomorrow night or next Saturday night, he may not get to advance to the next round. And quickly on the Braves, if you have not heard, the Braves did re-sign Charlie Morton. The contract goes through next year with a club option for 2023, in which he'll be 40 years old by the time 2023 comes to an end. He has been their best consistent pitcher all year long, even though he is almost 38 years old. The Braves had a 5-game lead a couple of weeks ago, and they are trying their best to give it away. They were terrible last week, and so far this week they've been at best. But starting tonight, they start a series with the Marlins, who are dreadful, so hopefully they'll get back on track tonight. Now on to the world of college football. Of course, there was no game last night because the NFL started last night, so they want all eyes to be on the NFL for their Week 1 Thursday night game. I'm not going to say much about the game because I'm going to try my best to get on here one day next week and give some news and notes about the NFL, and I may mention last night's game, so that's why I'm not going to really talk about last night's game at all. But the Bucks and the Cowboys did kick off the NFL season last night, and of course tonight starts week number 2 of the college football season. But if you look at the schedule, there aren't really a lot of great games this week. That's the only downside of week 1 being stacked with so many great games. is you get so excited because it's week 1 and there's pretty much good games on all day long. But then when week 2 comes around, there ain't a whole lot worth watching. Now, I did write down a few games that have my interest, and I'll tell you why they have my interest. But outside of these games, there really isn't a lot of great games this week. But at noon, you have Tennessee and Pittsburgh. And the reason why this game piques my interest is because I did my early Tennessee preview back probably in April, and I had Tennessee picked to win 6 games. We know last week they played Bowling Green, and outside of this week's game against Pittsburgh, their other 2 non-conference games, they played middle school teams. So I had them winning those 2 games, and I had them beating Vanderbilt. But then I had 2 games on the schedule out of the 4 or 5 toss-up games they had that I thought they could win in order to get to 6 wins. I didn't think they would win them all, but I thought they could win, a couple of them. And the game this Saturday against Pittsburgh is one of those games I thought Tennessee needed to win to get to 6 wins, only because the other toss-up games are Kentucky and Missouri and South Carolina. South Carolina, I'm still not sure about, but I think Kentucky and Missouri are both better than Pittsburgh. So if Tennessee doesn't beat Pittsburgh, I don't think they'll beat Kentucky or Missouri. But Joe Milton was decent at best last week against Bowling Green. If he plays that bad tomorrow, they will not win. Of course, Pittsburgh's quarterback, Kenny Pickett, has been their quarterback since 1951. So he has always been good, but he's never been great. But they last year just completely abandoned the running game. If they abandon the running game again and try to make Pickett throw 50 times, I think Tennessee has a chance. But if Milton plays as bad as he played last week, I think Tennessee will lose, and I think Milton will lose his job. And if he doesn't, then that means Hooker and Bailey are just flat out pitiful. Because against Bowling Green, if you're that bad, you've got a long way to go. And it's Milton's 4th year as a starting quarterback. He's always had promise. He just, for whatever reason, has just never shown any improvement. That's always been his downfall. Another game at noon is Oregon and Ohio State. And, of course, I bring that game up because both these teams are ranked in the top 15. I'm hoping for a good game. I want it to be a good game. But between the fact the game is played at noon, which is a 9 a.m. kickoff for the Oregon players because of the fact the West Coast is 3 hours behind the East Coast, and the game is played in Columbus, Ohio. But for the Oregon players, they're still going to be on the 9 a.m. clock. Between that and the fact that I just don't think Oregon's very good, I think Ohio State beats Oregon by at least 20 points. But I'm hoping I'm wrong. I want it to be a good game. And then at 7 o'clock, we've got NC State and Mississippi State. And this is going to be a good game because you've already heard me say that I think NC State is actually the second best team in the ACC. And if you follow Mike Leach at all, you know Mike Leach has never attempted to play defense. There was one season at Washington State, they finished top 20 in defense. But outside of that, he's never attempted to play any defense at all. And if he doesn't attempt to play defense tomorrow night, NC State will beat them. But I think if Mississippi State can pull off the victory, maybe Mike Leach is showing he's slowly getting them going in the right direction. But at 4:30 tomorrow afternoon is Iowa and Iowa State. Of course, both these teams are ranked in the top 10. They're battling for the Cy-Hawk Trophy, and they did not get to play last year, so this game has not been played in 2 years. We'll find out which team is better because Matt Campbell is doing things at Iowa State that have never been done, but for whatever reason, he just cannot get that monkey off his back. He just cannot beat Iowa. I think Iowa State is the better team this year, and Iowa State should win. If Iowa State does not win tomorrow afternoon, then I just don't think Matt Campbell will ever beat Iowa. But if you're a college football fan and you just like to watch any game that's on, you should be excited about tomorrow, because I'm not sure the reasoning, but tomorrow the games kick off at 11 o'clock a.m., and there's actually about 4 games that start at 11 o'clock tomorrow. So if you just like to watch college football, no matter who it is, you should be excited about that. But the next game on my list that I've got down as being a pretty good game this week is also at 7 o'clock, and that's Texas and Arkansas. Now, back in preseason, when I saw this game on the schedule, I thought Texas would win, but I thought it would be close. But then Texas looked a lot better last week against Louisiana than I thought they would. The quarterback made his first career start, and it was Sarkisian's first game as their coach, and they looked pretty dominant, and Arkansas struggled. I believe they were trailing in the third quarter this past weekend. So if Texas looks as good as they did last week and Arkansas looks as bad as they did last week, this game may be a complete blowout. But I still think it'll be close. But I do think Texas will win the game. And the last game that I've wrote down that I think is going to be a decent game this week, and I'll tell you why, at 7:30 tomorrow night is Missouri and Kentucky. And the reason why that game is on my list is because I'm just not sold on Florida. And the way they looked last Saturday night against Florida Atlantic made me even more not sold on Florida. Emory Jones had 113 passing yards against Florida Atlantic. That's atrocious. And I'm not convinced Florida is going to finish in second place this year in the East. Now, of course, we all know Georgia is going to win the East. But if Florida doesn't finish in second, and we know it's not going to be South Carolina, and it's not going to be Tennessee, then it has to either be Missouri or Kentucky. So this game Saturday night may determine who finishes in second place in the SEC East behind Georgia. I think Missouri is the better team, but I've always been a big fan of Mark Stoops as a head coach. He's lasted a lot longer at Kentucky than I thought he would, because I thought he would go there and start winning and he would leave. But he seems like he's content at Kentucky. And I've always been a big fan of Mark Stoops, but I think Kentucky is the better team, and I think Kentucky will win the game. But it would not surprise me if Missouri wins the game. But this game may just determine who finishes in second place in the SEC East. And like I said, that game is at 7:30 tomorrow night. And one other quick news and note about the college football games this weekend. LSU plays McNeese State. And, of course, McNeese State is no good. It's a small school located in Louisiana. The only reason I bring that up is because they had a discussion later on this week about the game, because the quarterback of McNeese State is the son of LSU head coach Ed Orgeron. So they were discussing, if you were, that quarterback or any other player where your dad coached at another school, would you rather play for your dad or would you rather play for somebody else? So let's just see what happens tomorrow night as LSU and Ed Orgeron take on his son at McNeese State. I believe that game is tomorrow night, but of course I'm sure it will not be on TV, and I'm sure it will be a blowout. But I am curious if you have any thoughts on that. If you were a player and your dad was a coach, would you rather play for your dad or would you rather play somewhere else? Let's go ahead and get our dad joke of the day in here. Did you hear about the mute chicken? It didn't give a cluck. And that wraps it up for today's Ref Brandon and the Todd Family YouTube video. Until next time, it's Ref Brandon saying, just like in pro wrestling, life can be over by the count of 3. Tell your friends and family how much you love them. Bye.